Today, leftists freak out over the SCOTUS rejection on abortion. A new bombshell report claims the United States knew about the Kabul bomber and had a drone lock on him, but did not take the shot. And Don Lemon says if you are unvaccinated, don't go to the hospital. We've got a lot coming up today. I'm going to try my best to make sure your head doesn't explode. And it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and it is Thursday, which means I am joined, of course, by Stu Burgier, host of Stu Does America.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. Also, Pat Gray of Pat Gray Unleashed. You can, yes.
It's true. I'm here. Present.
You can find both of these programs on BlazeTV, wherever you get your podcasts. Pluto as well. I'm just trying to run through the gamut here. Everyone makes fun of the way I say Pluto.
Pluto. Yeah, there's a very
heavy
formal,
T,
right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is weird because I'm in Texas and usually we don't say things so formal. I don't know. I just can't say it the other way.
Pluto.
Pluto. I'm saying it the correct way. You guys are saying it the wrong way. All right. I just like to point that out again. All right. So let's go over the Supreme Court, which we talked about yesterday. But it is still the number one topic of discussion, especially if you are on the left and you are screaming about Roe versus Wade being overturned, which is not actually the case. But I am curious to get, gentlemen, your thoughts on this latest. So the Supreme Court declined to stay the Texas law banning most abortions after 6 weeks in a 5-4 decision on Thursday. This one, of course, we talked about it yesterday. It is an interesting one because, you know, it is known as the heartbeat law, but it is peculiar because it basically gives way for people to bring civil suits to, you know, doctors, office staff, Uber drivers, anyone who participates in an abortion. So it doesn't criminalize it, but it instead gives room for those civil penalties. So 5-4 decision, I would say it was the conservatives versus the liberals, but I think it was the conservatives and Roberts.
So the conservatives versus
the
liberals.
Right,
yes, you got it
right. The Roberts. It's just difficult because Roberts is the liberal wing at this point.
I think he is.
But you still have to. You still have to specify it.
Yeah, it's interesting at times to point out where he lands, but he usually lands on this side, especially when it's important. I think you still get Roberts occasionally when it's an unimportant lower level ruling.
Yeah, because he wants you to think maybe he will actually err on the side of the Constitution.
But when it really matters, I mean, you know what side he's going to be on. But again, this is the good thing is we don't need him right now for these things. This is an interesting effort by the pro-life side. Obviously, as you know, very pro-life, as I believe all three of us are, I'm basically a pro-life extremist. I mean, frankly,
I would say proud to be.
Proud to be a non-violent extremist, because that word has nasty thoughts. But when you look at when I look at the polls and I look at my position, I'm not in the mainstream on this one. I favor ending this terrible, terrible thing, and I want it to happen today. Mm-hmm. So. That being said, this is an interesting effort here in that it's totally different than like what's going on with the Mississippi law that's going to the Supreme Court, which is like a traditional challenge against Roe versus Wade and maybe an opportunity to change the way we can restrict abortion in these states. This one is, as you point out, a very strange construction in that instead of like no police officer can be involved in it, no state officer can be involved in it. It's basically like, you know, someone goes to get an abortion and some lady in Minnesota can file a lawsuit against the person who works there. It's a really strict, I mean, and they did it intentionally this way, right? To get around the way the rules are constructed. If they tried to pass a 6-week abortion ban right now, it would be ruled unconstitutional unless the Supreme Court decided to overturn Roe versus Wade. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're saying basically there's no standing for any of these people to stop the law. until someone actually
Something
gets
happens,
sued and it
right.
can go through the court system.
Right.
And really, I have Josh Hammer on tonight, who really, he's.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, we tried to get him on, but he was busy. He must have been busy with you.
Yeah, maybe I booked him first. But Josh is great, and he's he's worked, he's clerked for the court, and he. I would like to get his thought on this, but it strikes me as that this is actually kind of a different story than the way it's been presented, in that one of the things that liberals in the court do all the time is when there's something they don't like, they just pass these sort of nationwide injunctions until it winds through the court system. And what Clarence Thomas has said publicly, and several other justices have said, is that's not the way this is supposed to work. Like, we're not supposed to take at the Supreme Court, or we're not supposed to just stop this stuff before it makes its way through the court. And so what it seems like here is they're allowing this to go forward, so the process is correct. And they even indicated, honestly, that they're probably, there's definitely hesitance as to whether this is actually a constitutional way of going about this. At the very least, there will be a short time here where it's difficult or at least risky to do these types of abortions, which I think is positive. But I don't know that it holds up in court, and I don't even know that that's what they're signaling. I think they're signaling, hey, we have to make sure we respect this legal process. We can't just jump in whenever we want.
Which I wonder if, we had heard previously that the packing of the courts, the idea of packing of the courts have kind of made the Supreme Court
Nervous.
we need to be careful. We need to make sure that we show everyone that that's not necessary. And then maybe that's why you see them going through all of these processes the correct way, because liberals previously have never really cared all too much about making sure that all the rules are followed, right? So it's interesting to see them now all of a sudden care about that. Not that they did in this particular decision, but Pat, let me add to the conversation here on this. Stu, you mentioned that now there will be less abortions that take place. They were trying to rush all of these through yesterday. One of Texas's largest abortion clinics rushed to perform 67 abortions in 17 hours ahead of this deadline. And, they had all of these patients all the way, through, I think it went into effect at 12 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And so they rushed through all of these things. And I'm not so sure that I would advise going to a clinic who wants to rush through a medical procedure.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think that I would advise that.
No,
Pat.
I certainly wouldn't either. But you got to get those babies killed
Yeah.
while you still can. Right?
Yeah, right?
While the killing's still good, let's get it done. 63 million is a number we don't say often enough. 63 million babies have been slaughtered since 1973. How many more before we finally stop it? Over a billion worldwide. Well over a billion worldwide. So, I don't know. I don't think we present this this issue in the proper light as conservatives, because it needs to be. I think people need to hear the numbers, and they need to be shocked back into reality that these are human lives that you're killing, and many of them are minority children. When in New York City, more black babies are aborted than born alive, you got a problem there. You're carrying out the wishes of Planned Parenthood's founder, Margaret Sanger, of course, but it's despicable. And I'd love for somebody to show me where abortion is in the U.S. Constitution. I really want to see that clause.
Yeah, because they do call it a constitutional right.
Over and over and
all
over
the
and
time.
over. I can show you the preamble where it says that our posterity has a right to the blessings of liberty, and our posterity is what? Our children. So it's right in the preamble, the right to be born, but I don't see any right for babies to be killed in the Constitution. It's just not there.
And conversely, we do have the right to life.
Yeah,
yes.
That's kind of a nice
life,
liberty, and
liberty
and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff that happened in the coverage on this, and that, first of all, there was the way they phrased their statement on this was that it was that was stopping women's access to the constitutional right created by Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
Well, constitutional rights don't get created by the court.
by courts.
That's not how it happens at all. Like, it's really clear about that. The other one is that sometimes these liberal talking points sort of bump into each other in awkward ways. So they were saying, like, we can't believe that they're going to take thousands and thousands of women away from basic health care. And this is going to mostly affect people of color. It's like, well, wait, so you're saying that people of color will live? Like, you're saying more people of color will be born and you're arguing against
That's
it?
bad?
And they are.
And they are.
And it's a perfectly reasonable argument to them.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think any of them have thought it out in about 25 years, which is the problem.
Yes.
And I think, look, I applaud anyone trying to stop this. I don't know that this one's going to be successful. I have much more faith in what's going on with the Mississippi case going to the Supreme Court long term. But that being said, let's just say Roe versus Wade gets overturned. What would happen to a woman in Fort Worth, Texas, down the road that wanted to get an abortion? She'd get on a 30-minute flight to New Mexico and get her abortion.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is this thing doesn't end with legal means. We will, I know I will fight to the day I die to make sure this is illegal and cannot be done. But really, it needs to be people's minds being changed. For a long time, things like interracial marriage was illegal for a very long time in this country and in certain places. And the laws changed, sure, but that's not why it's accepted now. It's not because of the law. It's because people realized that was a really dumb opinion we had back then. And the same thing applies to slavery and so many other things. And abortion's in that conversation. At some point, our people will look back and say, I can't believe the people of this country allowed this to occur. 63 million is such a shocking number that you're right, Pat. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's an entire country. It's Great Britain.
Yeah.
It's basically Great Britain aborted in just this country. Yeah. It's totally insane. And at some point, I have to believe the American people will realize this, but it just keeps dragging on. And every time it does, in one 17-hour period, we're talking about 67 people that should have been born that will not be.
And we're the bad guys, of course. This has been flipped completely around. Where we're the bad people because we want people to be born alive.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, I think that it only helps our argument, our case, when you have something like this happen and we see people like the Center for Study of Partisanship and Ideology president, Richard Hanania, who points out you can't screen for Down syndrome before about 10 weeks. And something like 80% of Down syndrome fetuses are aborted. If red states ban abortion, we could see a world where they have 5 times as many children with Down syndrome.
Oh, no.
And similar numbers for other disabilities.
Oh, no, Mr. Nazi. We don't want any kind of defect in the race, do we?
These are the same people who talk about ableism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Who talk about ableism. These are the same people who want Down syndrome babies, Down syndrome people to just be aborted from the entire planet, which, by the way, I think that it's something like 90% or like 96% of Down syndrome people actually love their lives. They're really happy with the way that things turned out for them.
Yeah.
But this guy doesn't care. Yeah. He wants them terminated from the entire planet.
And you flip that around and you wonder how many geniuses have been murdered among those 63 million. How many people who might have cured cancer in that time, or COVID-19, or become unbelievable Mozart-style musicians. How many people have we lost who could have really made a positive difference?
And that's completely true. And in that, however, as well, are tens of millions of people who would just be slugs and sit on the couch and eat like pizza and do nothing good with their lives. But you know what? They still deserve that opportunity. Yeah.
It is possible we might have a few Jeffies born in that group.
Don't make me pro-choice. Don't you dare make me pro-choice. Can we test for Jeffy? How many weeks do you need for that? That one I would approve of. I think we can all.
But it's insane when you hear their arguments. And I was just going back and forth with someone today who was talking about, look, everyone has medical autonomy over their own body. And I said, well, if that's the case, then you're actually making the case against abortion, because this is a separate being who should have autonomy over their own body. And I would gather If you were to be able to communicate with the baby, it would prefer not to die. I know that's a controversial statement, but I would think that it would prefer not to die. And they're like, well, but it can't speak, so the mother has the right. It's
so we can assault babies then?
Right.
Because they can't say they don't want to be assaulted.
Right,
so we have to assume that they want the harm, right?
I mean, it's
ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
there's no logic behind it.
Yeah, there's this thing, the whole straw man argument, and then there's the steel man argument. Like, what is the steel man argument for abortion at this point? It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really like the best argument for abortion is like,
like the mother's convenience trumps another person's life.
And like, look, I think at times conservatives can be like too flippant with what that means, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to have a baby, like a woman going through 9 months of pregnancy and having to give birth, which is obviously a painful experience and can be very uncomfortable, there are real effects to that. And it's like, you can understand in a perfect world, if this wasn't life, how we'd say, of course, like if you had a growth growing on the side of your stomach, it would be ridiculous for conservatives to say, wait, no, that growth must go to term.
Yeah.
Like, but it's about a human being that has the opportunity and constitutionally the right to be able to live their life. And arguing to take that away is horrific. I mean, we constantly, this is surrounding races in this is brought into this. And they always say, well, did you know that 70% of abortions are to black families and minority families, and you're hurting their access? It's like, think of what you're saying. Like, you're saying if I'm a racist, right? Why do I want so many African Americans to be born? Like,
so you can torture them still.
Like, under our policies, like we are the Supreme Council of the United States, and we have a way of making this actually true, and we ban abortion. What we're going to see are millions and millions of African Americans that are born when our opponents politically want them dead.
Yep.
I don't understand how our side is racist here. I want all of those people to be alive. Why don't you?
Which, by the way, would be 16 million more African Americans right now.
Incredible.
Incredible.
By the way, before we go, I would just like to say also, I saw that there was some comedian who suggested that all of the women in Texas should just refuse to have sex with their partners until this is sorted out. I say absolutely. Stop having sex if you cannot find a way to have sex responsibly. Whatever it happens to be that makes you stop having abortions and using abortion as birth control, I am all in. I totally agree. Please stop having sex.
It's not a bad recommendation if you're trying to avoid a birth.
Yeah, I'm like, so we're arguing for abstinence now. That's great, because we've been saying the whole time, if you don't want to get pregnant, that's the only way to make sure that you don't. But hey, what do we know? All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Truebill. So,
I've been using Truebill.
Have you? It's great, right?
It's awesome. And the best feature.
Tell
Truebill.
Tell them.
You go in and they give you the list of your bills. And for example, like let's say you may have subscribed to the Dallas Morning News for the radio program months and months and months and months ago. And they were like, hey, put it on your credit card. You could just expense it, which is just So no one uses it. Of course, it's the Dallas Morning News. Right. So I go on the Truebill thing and I have Dallas Morning News, and you can just tell Truebill to cancel it for you. Yeah. They get in touch with them, they handle it, and then I don't have to pay it anymore. I did it with like three or four different recurring bills. I had them cancel for me. It's amazing.
It's incredible. So Truebill, they help you identify and stop paying for subscriptions that you don't want or you forgot about. And that's the thing. On average, people save about $720 a year with Truebill.
I'm way over that already.
But I know, and I found that too. I was just like, I signed up for care.com a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. I was paying $40 a month. So, I mean, it's incredible how much you don't realize that you are paying for just because you've forgotten that you subscribe to it. And the Dallas Morning News, you don't want to be supporting that
I was
garbage.
told to subscribe for it. I subscribed to it, and then they just, of course, leave it on me to deal with.
Right.
And then every time I tried to cancel, they're like, you have to call us. I'm like, I don't want to call you.
Yeah.
So it just kept going and going and going until Truebill showed up.
I mean, truly, it is amazing. You got to go to truebill.com/whyitmatters right now. It could save you hundreds a year, you guys, and it is very easy to set up. Go to truebill.com/whyitmatters. There is a new bombshell report out on what happened in Afghanistan, and I will say this has not, this is just alleged. Okay, so I want to be very careful how I say this. I do find it to be somewhat of a credible report, so I wanted to share it with you. So apparently the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Western Hemisphere Affairs dropped some incredible information during an interview. Now, I'm going to play the interview. It is in Spanish on Univision, so I will go ahead, and there are subtitles for those of you who are actually watching, but those of you who are listening on podcast, I will translate. I guess I could have fooled them and been like, there's not subtitles.
Yeah, that's right.
But my last name is Gonzalez. So I will translate it for you, but there are subtitles. So here, let's go ahead and play this and I'll translate. What is being said by people who were involved is that the Department of Defense already knew who the bomber was. And when the Kabul attack would happen and that a Predator drone had a lock on him and that they refused to grant permission to fire upon that bomber. Permission was requested and denied. Why? Because we are in this process of negotiating with the Taliban, who are not even in control of their own government or their own people. So, it's interesting. I spoke to Jason Buttrell, who obviously we all know, Glenn's chief researcher, and I said, "What do you make of this?" And he said, "Well, obviously, I want to see confirmation, some sort of confirmation on whether or not this is true, but it wouldn't surprise me because, I mean, as this former Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defense said." They're in the process of negotiating with the Taliban. All we're hearing is about how the Taliban has changed and they're going to be inclusive. And, well, it's not really so simple to say that they're an enemy of the United States and, all of these excuses for the Taliban. So it would make sense that since they're negotiating with them, they didn't want to do anything to upset that process. But very, very disturbing allegations here if they are, in fact, true. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
I mean, obviously, as you point out, we don't know the whole story there. It's something really important to look into, and we'll await kind of confirmation and more reporting on it. I'm sure a lot of people are ringing this guy's phone right now trying to figure out what the hell is going on. That being said, no level of incompetence would surprise me with this administration. I've never seen anything like the way they've handled this. It's been a national disgrace in every way. They have mishandled or intentionally screwed up every aspect of this. The only thing that's even gone moderately well is the military's efforts when pushed up against an impossible deadline. When the administration gave them a certain date, when the administration boxed them in, when the administration said, no, we don't want the whole city, we'll just take the airport, every single misstep, when the administration gave up Bagram, when the administration did not continue to support the Afghan soldiers as all of this was going on, when the administration didn't evacuate the people first, all of the things they did wrong, when the military was pushed back into that very deep corner, they of course acted bravely and competently, and that the credit to that goes to them and does not go at all to the administration. I would not be surprised at all to find out that they are responsible that directly, because they're certainly responsible in my eyes anyway for what happened with that bombing. But if it was even worse than I think it is, it seems to happen every day, and I will not be surprised.
Yeah, Pat.
This has been an extraordinary success. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I did hear that directly from Joe Biden himself, so it must be true.
We already said that. So what are we arguing about here? It's really tragic what's happening. And I think the Taliban has changed. Some of them are clean shaven as they cut people's heads off.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, it's completely different than last time.
Wow.
They all had
nice.
skanky beards before.
Turning over a new leaf.
But they've decided to shave a few of them anyway. And so that's a different feel. It's really, I mean, there's no more words. How many things can you say about what a catastrophe this has been?
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine how they could have screwed it up more. Right?
It would have been impossible to screw it up more. I think.
Incredible.
And he tells us, Joe Biden tells us, they couldn't have done it any better.
Yeah.
And they made
but at the
no
same time,
mistakes.
and at the same time, though, that he seemingly is blaming his predecessor.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
look, my predecessor, he was the one who set all this up, and I didn't have very much time.
Yeah.
Oh, but by the way, it was a smashing success.
Yeah.
It's strange. You're right. He's, again, in the position that Joe Biden is in, all he can do is lie.
Yeah.
Because you can't admit anything that's true because you've done such a terrible job. And we're talking about not even just what's happened with the troops and the loss of territory. What's going to happen to the people here? Yeah. Not even our people, the green card holders, permanent residents of the United States, thousands of them left there, tens of thousands of Afghans that helped us. Think of the women. We talked about this before. It's easy to say, well, we got nothing. Nothing happened here. What a waste of time. Well, I don't know. Was it a waste of time? I mean, we spent 20 years there, and an entire generation of young women were able to go to school. I mean, if you look at the chart of who went to school in this country, before the Taliban came in, only 20% of girls were going to school at all. Shockingly, the Taliban took that down to 0%. When we brought it all the way up to 83%, 83% now go to school. That is dead. I mean, it's going to be back to zero in what, a year? And, that is lost for these people. So it's just a catastrophe on every level. It's not, the entire war is not Joe Biden's fault, but this is Joe Biden's fault.
You also have to wonder, I mean, all of our allies are looking at this going like, well, what is the point of being the United States ally?
They are.
Why would you?
When this is how you're going to be treated when it all comes and shakes out. So, all right. By the way, just really quickly, a new poll found that a majority of Americans said that Joe Biden should resign over all of this Afghanistan disaster. 52% of U.S. likely voters wanted Biden to resign. So you got to imagine that there are a lot of people who are regretting their choice at the polls last year. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Prayer Bowls. I know we've talked about this before, but so many times you hear a prayer request, maybe you're at church or on social media, and you pray for the person at the time that you hear it, but then you go back to your day and you forget to put it into your daily routine. Prayer Bowls is a great way to do that. All right, it's helped me pray for the people that I love, anyone who is requesting prayer, and of course all you have to do is look around you. There is no shortage of things to pray for right now. I mean, all you have to do is listen to this program to know that. So Prayer Bowl is a unique handcrafted ceramic or wooden bowl that holds your prayer intentions. They're very, very stunning. They come with a bundle of prayer cards. I have one at home, and it's completely gorgeous. It's the turquoise. I believe it's called the Alexis, and it is in turquoise. So not only does it look beautiful in my house, but it also is so useful because you can write the name of the person you intend to pray for on the prayer card, collect them in your prayer bowl, and whenever you have that daily quiet time with the Lord, you have meditation time, you can use that time to remember your prayers. You can go to prayerbowls.com, see all of their beautiful selection. They're all made by hand in the USA, Portugal, and Poland. It is prayerbowls.com. If you use promo code NEWS, you will get scripture cards for free over at prayerbowls.com, promo code NEWS. So there is an update on the story about the We Spa in Los Angeles. I know in case you need a refresher, we brought you this story back in June. It was when a group of women complained that a man who identified, I'm sorry, I'm going to offend someone here. A man who identified as a female exposed his penis at this We Spa.
His?
Wow, did you hear that?
Unbelievable.
You mean her penis?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Unreal. What year is this?
I don't know.
Are we back in the
12,
50s?
18?
Thank you.
Maybe?
I'm sorry.
Unbelievable.
I apologize. I apologize.
That's not enough. I need you to resign.
She exposed her penis.
Thank you, Pat. That is.
Bet.
Now the story makes sense.
Yeah, now it does.
That is much more scientific. Thank you. But let's just play. I don't want to play the whole thing, but let's just play a little bit of this original video that went viral of the women, primarily one who was like, yo, there's a naked dude who's exposing himself and there's young girls around. Watch.
We Spa, so it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis, around the other women, young little girls underage, your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he could stay there. He could stay there? What sexual orientation? Is that what you're saying? What really? What law? What law?
You put everything back.
So women can go into the men's with their breasts. Okay.
And then this should happen there. We're not going to come back.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't come back either. Yeah, get your money back.
Yeah, everything.
You got a man with his penis come back. He's a woman. He ain't no woman.
So I mean, I'm on her side. All right. I think you got a man with a penis saying he's a woman. He ain't a woman if he's got a penis. But apparently there is an update.
I know.
There is an
I
update
know.
to the story. This week, charges of indecent exposure were actually filed against again, we need a flow chart. I need the transgender woman, the man, the one with the penis.
That's
Should I
better.
just,
Yes,
the
that's
one
much
with the
better.
penis.
Was charged?
Surprising.
With indecent
Wow.
exposure.
Really?
Apparently, he is
Really
a
surprising.
serial sex offender.
No.
I know you're shocked to hear
That
this.
doesn't happen.
Did you just say he again? He's a serial sex offender? Sarah!
Sorry.
How many times have we called out this possibility that just
every
perverted
time.
men are
Every
going to
time.
go into women's bathrooms claiming to identify as a woman and do this kind of stuff? And
Yes.
we've seen it multiple times.
I will say the one part of it
Multiple
that's actually not what we predicted is that he doesn't seem to be getting away with it.
Yeah,
Which is surprising
right.
to me.
Why?
Why?
Well, because apparently sources with knowledge of the case, but they were not authorized to speak publicly, but they say that 4 women and a minor girl came forward to allege that he was partially erect in the women's section
What,
of
a woman
the spa.
can't be partially erect? Was since when? I don't. How dare it? I want everyone in that police department to resign right now. What does that have to do with anything?
Nothing.
Wait, that is
Nothing
a really
to do with
weird
it.
line, though. So
It is.
So if you're aroused, it doesn't count?
That is a really weird line.
Like, how-
That's what made
if
it.
you're a female, are you saying that if you're a female, you can't be turned on by other females? Because I think that's discriminatory
Yes.
right there as well.
We've learned lots today.
Well, this is 52-year-old Darren Marager of Riverside, California. He, of course, says everything about the Wii Spa was a bunch of garbage and lies. And by the way, I am legally a female in California.
Wait, this is in California too, and it didn't work? I am legitimately shocked he's
It
getting
is
charged.
surprising.
Listen, you know why? Because you're talking about minor girls.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but-
obviously correct. It should go
No,
this
I know,
way.
but I'm just saying. But like,
You think that's the only thing that?
Yes, because once you mess with people's children.
But at first,
and
they
you
didn't even care about that. At
Well, the
first,
spa
people
didn't.
were protesting on his behalf.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
did that and saying he had a right to do that.
Because I mean, I was as I was
That's
watching.
amazing.
I must not have been here the day that you did this story, and I don't remember this happening. And watching that video for the first time here, it was.
you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen this
Yeah, I
video.
think you were on vacation when the story
Might
broke.
have been it.
okay.
So watching that video, it's interesting because I think the person taking the video, and I don't want to identify them as he or her, but says, I think correctly would assume in her brain she's on the right side of this, right? Like people will see this and be offended
Right.
and be on her side. But honestly, I think watching it, I'm surprised. I bet you read the comments under that. It's the opposite.
It was the opposite. It was
Is
the
that people are upset that she would say
they were
that about
pissed
a woman.
off that, yes.
Well, this is what the again, we need a flow chart. The transgender woman who the one with the penis,
yeah.
okay, says, you allow trans women to go in there to women's spaces, and then people simply claim indecent exposure, and then you're like arrested and stuff.
So
It's like,
Yeah, 'cause we see that every
that's
day,
because
right?
it is
Come on.
indecent exposure,
Yeah.
and you should be arrested.
Right, and look, if let's just say there's this situation where a transgender person goes into a bathroom, has some male parts, maybe, if you go into a private room, no one's probably going to even know, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're taking it out in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Well, he says if
it's
you go
doing what
into
it's doing.
if you go into an area where you're expected to be nude, there has to be an indecent exposure exemption.
What kind of spa is this anyway? Like, I don't know much about this spa, but
are people expected to be nude when they come out of a stall in a bathroom?
I don't think it's
Apparently
like,
at this spa.
I don't think so.
It's like a Korean spa where the
one of those
women,
spas that,
women
like-
go. I've never been, but I do know that they exist where like you just take off all your clothes and like go into the
Really?
water. Yeah.
Are you
I
sure it's
find
not-
the whole thing to be very
And is
uncomfortable.
this one of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Okay.
like the women are all nude, but they didn't give consent to
to a guy
have
being in there.
a partially erect penis in their face while they went into the spa. I think is the.
I can feel your
legitimate
hatred.
argument.
I can feel it coming out again.
Yeah.
I can. Can't you?
Yeah,
I
oh,
can
yeah.
sense it.
Yeah.
I it's transphobic.
Well, I mean, there's just something about the idea of like
Of what? Of what?
like minor children
You think
and
that's a
little
problem?
girls seeing a partially erect penis, or even, you know what, even a flaccid penis. I'm going to go out on a
Wow.
limb and I'm going to say any kind of penis, I don't think young girls should be seeing.
We have set a record for that word, I think, on this
Probably.
program. And this has been a lot of episodes of
I'm
the show. and I think
definitely
we've done
going to
it.
get an email.
Oh,
about
yeah, you
that.
totally will. And we'll say, we tried to stop her.
Yeah,
we tried
we
to
did.
stop her
Yeah,
hate, and we
right.
had tried to stop her saying those naughty words, and she would not do
She
it.
just would not do it. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, fastgrowingtrees.com. So, when is the perfect time to plant trees and shrubs? Well, big box store experts will tell you, anytime. You just come to our store and pay way too much for it, and you can just plant it in the middle of the summer. That's not actually true. The best time to plant is fall, which means it's September. I don't know if you guys have noticed now is the time to go to fastgrowingtrees.com. Don't go to the big box stores. This is the world's largest online nursery. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to get your car all messy. You guys know. You go to those.
I've got some dead trees from that freeze.
Oh,
I gotta
yeah.
do something about. This might be the time to go.
Yeah, because don't go to one of the big box stores where you're going to get your car all messy because it's got all the dirt and stuff that you have to You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't
No,
do
this
that.
is. I like this. I got to do this.
Yes, they've got a ton of different varieties. You can go online, you can pick they've got like a finder for when you type in where you're living and they can show you what is best for your soil. 'Cause I'm like, I don't know anything about that. But they do, and they can help you with that. Whether you're looking for shade, privacy, fruit trees, just added color. Every plant is shipped with a well-developed root system ready to explode with new growth. You just like dig the hole and plop it in there. You're ready to go.
Because I previously had been going to fastdyingtrees.com.
Yeah, that's
not a good.
No. Not a
good
I would
idea.
not recommend them.
Do not go there.
No.
Okay. Join over 1 million satisfied gardeners at fastgrowingtrees.com. They've got a 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, so you cannot go wrong. All right. Now through November 30th, go to fastgrowingtrees.com/news. You'll get 15% off. That is 15% off at Fast Growing Trees, not Fast Dying Trees, fastgrowingtrees.com/news. I am sorry. I feel like I have to apologize every time we bring up a Don Lemon story. So I am sorry to the audience.
It's appropriate.
I apologize. But, we have to show you what places like CNN, MSNBC are saying so that you know what your liberal family members are actually subjecting themselves to. And let me tell you, I just need to make sure that you have taken your blood pressure medication today. So Don Lemon over at CNN was talking to Chris Cuomo, which is like, is there a worse part of the program than when those two get together and banter back and forth?
Can you picture a dumber television show than Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo together? I don't think it's possible. I mean, if you were intentionally trying to put the two dumbest people on earth on television together,
it's like the duel of the douchebags.
Yes.
It's great. It's a tremendous segment.
I know, it's like, pick which one you hate the most. I can't. Gun to my head, I don't think I can pick. But he was talking with Chris Cuomo, and he said that if you have not gotten the COVID vaccination, that you are selfish. And by the way, you should also refrain from seeking life-saving medical treatment if you actually go ill. Don't go to the hospital. All right, watch.
If you're not going to get vaccinated, you don't want to social distance, you don't want to wear a mask, then maybe you don't want to go to the hospital when you get sick. I know that sounds harsh, but you're taking up the space for people who are doing things the right way.
No word on how Don Lemon feels about obese people who made the choice to become obese
and talk trash about obese people here, Sarah.
Are also taking up space, if we'd like to be technical here. Smokers who have lung issues now because they've smoked. No word on what Don Lemon thinks about that.
Such a dumb opinion. Again, what else would we expect from that tandem?
Yeah.
He's also, we should point out, the other half of the tandem treated his own COVID-19 with various fruits and spices. Legitimately, that happened.
Listen, there was a bleach bath involved.
There was a bleach bath
All
as
right,
well.
don't sell him short.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, I think he used all 11 of Kentucky Fried Chicken's herbs and
yes, he
spices.
did. Somehow he had the secret recipe,
Yeah,
which pisses
it's
me
weird.
off. Typical. That's what happens when you have a family that's been in power that long.
Right.
They get the Kentucky Fried
Yeah,
Chicken
you get access
recipe.
to that.
And did not follow the quarantine rules.
No, didn't follow the quarantine rules. I mean, it was a disaster from beginning to end with him, and got tests from his brother when he wasn't supposed to have it.
Right.
I saw something online as well. Some blue check had posted this, so I'm kind of assuming it was real. But it was the idea that supposedly Candace Owens was trying to go get a test at a clinic, and they refused her because she said bad things about the vaccine. And it's like, well, if you want to stop a pandemic, why wouldn't you want Candace Owens to know if she has COVID or not?
Yeah.
Do you care about the pandemic? Do you care about if anyone else? What if she goes and gets someone sick when she's trying to get this test somewhere else? They don't care. They don't care whether you live or die. They don't care whether where the pandemic goes on. They want their talking points. They want to look like they're making other conservatives look dumb on the TV box. And it's just an insultingly silly approach to something that's serious.
Did you also see, they continually blame the unvaccinated. Did you just see the outbreak at Duke University? First week of classes at Duke, 364 people contract COVID-19. 364 test positive. Out of that, 8 of them were not vaccinated.
That's incredible.
8. 95% of the people who became infected were vaccinated.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It is.
And we've seen that study after study. We've seen that the fully vaccinated people can still
spread
get it and get it.
Right.
They can.
Right. But so how in the world would you come to the conclusion that it's the unvaccinated people? I would argue it's the vaccinated people who don't know that they have it because they're asymptomatic or their symptoms are more mild and they're spreading it to the unvaccinated.
Stu,
I think that does happen.
Mr. Vaccination.
I think that's true. I will say, I think you'd be less likely
Why
to get tested.
are you out in society right now,
Yeah,
Stu?
you got all that stuff
You
in your
should
nose
be
right now
isolated
that's
from
just
us.
waiting to jump out and infect us.
I'm happy to be isolated from everybody else, honestly, on this planet right now. No, look, I would argue that I think it does happen. I think it happens less often. But, wouldn't it be a better approach? I'm just going to throw this out there. Wouldn't it be a better approach that we don't blame anyone?
Yes.
I
you
see
got
two
sick.
stories all the time.
Yeah.
And people,
It's always been that way.
I see two types of stories. The media, and people love online. One type is, hey, look, this person once said something skeptical about the vaccine, and now they have COVID. Look at those idiots, and they dunk on them. And I see the other side too, where I see people who are skeptical about the vaccines, and they see someone who's vaccinated who gets COVID, and they're dunking on them. I don't know. Maybe neither one of those is a freaking news story.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a little empathy for people. Getting sick sucks, and all of a sudden it's now become this tool to bash the other side of an argument.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense either way. I think maybe we should I don't know, maybe take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
You want to just take care of your own freaking situation and stop bugging everybody else.
Yeah, by the way, newsflash, this is not going to be the last virus that everyone...
What?
Yeah.
There's more?
There will be way more.
Oh, yeah.
This is why it's called the news and why it matters. We got to take a break. We'll be back.
I can't see China letting another one out of the worst. I don't see.
All right, don't forget to go to wherever you get your audio podcasts. You got to go in the search bar, all right, type in the news, and you don't even have to type in the whole thing. It'll just pop up at some point. I don't know which point that is, but you guys can let me know when you go do it. Subscribe, rate, and review the program. Who am I kidding? Do it. Don't do it for me. Do it for you, because you might see your review read live on air, like the ones today from BPug 1974, who says, great show, love the show, never miss an episode, always entertaining, funny, and informative. And then there is also one that we have today from C. Fulsher. Great start to my morning. I love listening every morning while I get ready for work. The common sense is refreshing. But I notice here that these are people, at least this C. Fulsher is someone who already listens to the audio podcast. So all of you lazy people over there at YouTube, come on, don't you want to see your review read live on air? Please, especially after, how many more times do I have to say penis?
Yeah, 4.
4.
Yeah, I dare you. 4 times before the end of the show. Go.
Penis, 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 penis.
Nice.
I'm waiting for that email.